Off the rails, the White House hitting the panic button, trying to get the president's signature legislation back on track. And now some saying this train wreck is so bad, it's derailing the liberals' entire big government agenda. Are they right? Plus,
because your premiums will be high.
Healthcare navigators busted telling Americans to commit fraud when signing up for Obamacare. Time to pull the plug on the Navigator program. And then, using sex and alcohol to sell Obamacare to young Americans. Is this the message we should be sending our youth? Cashing in, searching for truth starts right now. Hi, everyone. I'm Eric Bolling. Welcome to Cashing In. Our Cashing In crew this week: Jonathan Honig, Michelle Fields, Kimberly Guilfoyle, and Juan Williams. Welcome, everybody. The Obamacare hits just keep on coming, from embarrassing low enrollment numbers to a fix that many say just won't stick. And now Sir Charles is saying all this mess is leading to this.
We have not just Obamacare unraveling, not just the Obama administration unraveling, not just the Democratic majority in the Senate, but we could be looking at the collapse of American liberalism.
Michelle, that's a big statement. Liberalism, kind of like a cancer, it doesn't necessarily go away, maybe goes in remission, but what do you say?
Well, look, I think a lot of people thought that Obama would be liberalism's reviver and savior. But instead, I think what Obama's doing is digging its grave. You know, the main key component of liberal philosophy is that they believe that the government is better equipped than the private industry at handling important parts of our lives. And I think this Obamacare rollout undermines that notion. I mean, if you look at everything that liberalism has produced, look at Detroit. It's a mess. We have 46 million people on food stamps. I think people realize that they don't want this. They don't want a government that creates a website that's worse than the post office and the DMV.
All right, KG, this week President Obama said he didn't know. He didn't know the website wasn't working when they enrolled it. But, you know, frankly, this plausible deniability crap, I'm frankly sick of it.
Well, isn't he the commander-in-chief? I mean, honestly, he would have been shown the door if this was any kind of private company. They're just like failing forward and faster by the minute. This was a complete disaster. He's got no political capital or goodwill left, because now look at the approval numbers, etc. I mean, the American people don't trust him, don't like his health care phony scam that he tried to Ponzi scheme our way into, like, sucking up to this and believing it was going to work. And what all this is doing, and I agree with Charles, is showing that liberalism and big government are a prescription for sick for this country.
Okay, Juan, you put your hand to your forehead. What's working?
You know, this you know, I'm listening to you guys and I'm thinking this is premature ebullition. You know, this is just too much celebration on the right. Like somehow the right thinks, oh, this is it, game over, we won. I remember a few weeks ago with the shutdown, you guys were totally in the tank. But you know what? The president said it himself. He fumbled. He made a huge mistake. This one's on him, not on the Republicans.
That's the first thing he's been right about.
Yeah.
Well, he's absolutely right. But let me just tell you, let me finish the point.
Yep.
That what we have right now, and you know, you just heard a moment ago, oh, the government does nothing right. Small government at all times. I don't hear anybody saying that about Social Security, Medicare, the U.S. military. I just don't hear it at all.
I have a hunch we have one guy who may say something about that. John, go ahead.
Well, government is force, and that's what makes it wrong in the realm of health care. I mean, Obamacare is force, and one that is wrong. I'd say the same thing about Social Security and Medicare, Medicaid as well. I mean, it's force against doctors, it's force against patients, it's force against hospitals, it's force against every single American. That's what makes it fundamentally immoral.
Jonathan,
that's what makes it fundamentally wrong, and that's why it's unraveling right in front of our eyes.
Jonathan, is it force when they control the airplane so they don't crash? Is it force when they tell you to use a seatbelt and have a windshield? Is that force, Jonathan, or is that common sense?
I think that's force, and I think it's a long stretch between saying mandating control over the roads and forcing people to participate in a program simply because they're alive.
Right. Michelle, we're getting off topic. Let's talk about what's really going on. We're spending a lot more money on food stamps. We're spending more money on welfare programs. Our budget keeps going higher and higher and higher. Do me a favor, guys. Pull up... First, pull up his President Obama's. Do you trust him? Pull this poll up first. I'm going to do a couple of these very quickly. Do you trust him? Here it is. Look at this. Now, 44%. In just since October 1st, he's lost 10% of the American people thinking that they can trust him. Give me the next one. His approval rating. President Obama's approval rating from 2009 was 65%, now 40%. Some polls have him breaking that 40% level, a record 39%. Michelle, is this working? Is big government liberalism working?
No, it's not working. I mean, we have 69 million Americans that are dependent on the government for some form of a subsidy. We have $17 trillion in debt. This is the result of big government. Obama says he didn't know that this was such a mess. Well, that's the problem with big government, that the guy at the top doesn't even know what's happening because the government is far too big. And you know, last week, Eric, you compared this to a football team or any sports team. If the guy at the top gets in trouble, the coach ends up getting in trouble. He takes responsibility.
He gets fired.
President Obama doesn't.
He gets fired.
President Obama doesn't.
Hold on.
Instead, he fires the water boy.
Right.
That's what he does.
Kimberly,
the low-level person.
If President Obama were CEO Obama and Obamacare were Obamacare Inc., and the president delivered what he delivered this week on Thursday, saying, I just didn't know, oops, my bad. What would the board members do? What would the shareholders do?
Even if you scaled that grade up on a curve, it'd still be an F. I mean, they would fire him. I mean, honest to God, it just really begs the question. Is it the worst president ever? Well, he's certainly the most destructive president we've had in terms of tearing apart this country and all of the freedoms that we have fought for. He hasn't been able to make government programs work. It's true.
The most destructive president, is that what you said?
I do believe that.
Oh, my God. This is over the top.
So Juan, tell us why he's not. I mean,
wait a minute. We are
gone
you
down.
know the name of this show? This show is called Cashing In, Eric Bowling.
Right.
Have you noticed Wall Street this week? Wall Street's doing bonkers. Have you noticed the economic indicators in this country? Have you noticed the price of gasoline? You know what? Who saved this country in terms of economic recession?
Have you noticed the labor participation rate?
Yes.
You know what it is, Juan?
Yes.
You know what? It's the lowest right now since who? Since who?
I don't even
Jimmy
know.
Carter.
All right, so
the other worst president ever.
Yeah, and we have an aging society, but you don't take that into account because all you want to do is bum us.
Go ahead, John.
Well, the reason, unfortunately, that the GOP, in my opinion, Eric, is losing on this issue of government involvement in health care is that they're not proposing a real alternative to the president.
Good point. I agree with Jonathan.
Well, and thank you, Juan. I mean, yes, unfortunately, your point. It's Bush who came up with the prescription drug plan. It's a lot of Republicans who say we need to extend Medicare, Medicaid, all these Social Security safety nets. So if the Republicans want to win, they should be advocating for freedom in health care, not just a watered-down versions of government's Obama's fascist control.
You know, Michelle, I'm going to disagree.
Are you for that? Are you for a free market?
I am a free market guy, but I know that there are excesses to cap. I know that there are times when Wall Street fails. I know there are times when workers are exploited, and we need government as a helping hand. A social safety net needs to be in place for a positive America.
It's not a helping hand, Juan. That's the whole point.
We don't have a safety net. It has become so big. We should be promoting policies that lift people out of poverty. Instead, what are we doing? We're promoting policies that make people feel better living in poverty. They make them feel more comfortable living in poverty. That's what they do.
Helping hand.
So you want children starving? That's what we should do. Kick the children to the curb.
No. Oh my God.
Can we just hold on, guys?
Juan, get out of here.
Unbelievable straw man.
Stop. Can we just be clear? No one wants starving children. No one on this show. No one wants starving children on this show. Last thought, Kate.
So all I know is from this administration, it seems like every American's got a pair of cement boots sinking down fast to nowhere. That's the problem.
We're going to leave it right there. Coming up, deception, lies, and videotape. Calls growing to sink the Obamacare Navigator program over these undercover videos.
Don't get yourself in trouble by declaring it now.
Exactly.
Yeah, it didn't happen.